welcome to the Mentoring Undergraduate Research Workshop that's going to be conducted by our two faculty fellows here at CURCA, Dr. Efren Velasquez and Dr. Brenna Quarles. They've been our faculty fellows for a while now, so it's a recognition of all the impact and all the great things that they do for undergraduate research. So we felt that they were perfect people to host this workshop. So without further ado, I turn it over to them. Brenna, Efren, go ahead.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Yes, a presentation, Mentoring Undergraduate Research, a workshop presented by us. This is the second time we're presenting this workshop. So hopefully it goes better than the first one. I think the first one went pretty good in my opinion. Yeah. All right. So just a little bit about the work that we have done. So as Diogo has mentioned, my name is Efren Velasquez. I have been working in the Department of Psychological Science since 2018. And I got my PhD in health psychology from the University of Virginia Commonwealth University. And so far, I've mentored 10 undergraduate students. 2 of them have been McNair Scholars.
And I'm Brenna Quarles, and I've been in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry here since 2017. I got my PhD in chemistry from Clemson, and I have mentored 9 undergraduate research students, and actually one was a McNair Scholar as well.
And today's presentation, really, we don't have that many slides. It's going to be a couple of slides going over just some basic tips. And we really want to leave some time so we can actually engage with the audience if you have questions. So it's going to be a little bit of a free-for-all, which tends to work out pretty well each time. So the first tip, recruiting students. I think that should be one of the most important steps to take is how do you engage students when it comes to recruiting them and having them work with you to do research? And first of all, one of the first steps is to get to know your student population within the institution. When we start off here working at UNG or in any university, we tend to just get bogged down in our office, in our department. We really have a hard time maybe getting out into like maybe the student center. And that's one of the recommendations we highly encourage is actually get to know the student population, do presentations for other faculty members in your college or outside of your college. Have the students get to know you is actually ideal. That way they know who you are. And they also know the type of research that you're interested in. So also, we all teach undergraduate students, keep an eye out for those talented students. You always know if there's 1 or 2 students that really stand out, especially if you teach one of those research-oriented or very difficult classes. Those students that tend to stand out, you want to try and capture them and see if they might be interested in your research projects.
Yeah, and you want to catch them early because the sooner you can start working with them, the better it is, because you have to consider it takes a while to train an undergraduate student in your particular area of research. And most of them don't have any research experience at all, right? So they need the initial research skills just generally, and then specifically to yours. So if you can get an undergrad earlier on, and then they can stay with you 2, 3, 4 semesters, then that allows them to really grow with the project. And it also saves you time in terms of having to retrain students all the time. So it's kind of a win-win for students and you, because there's benefits for on both sides of that versus a student who's a senior and they've never done research and they only have that 1 semester. It feels rushed for them, and then it doesn't help your project build up necessarily the same way when you know that they're just going to be graduating. So if you see them like in your classes earlier on, through presentations, all that really makes a difference.
Yeah, and something that I started doing this school year is students that are interested in working with me, they have to commit for at least 2 semesters, because as Brenna mentioned, you don't want to train a student and then a semester later they're gone. And then that's more time, more effort in retraining new students. And it's just not an efficient way to work with students, given that, again, it takes a lot of time just to prep them and train them and give them the necessary skills so they actually learn how to do research efficiently in your given discipline. So with that, projects, simple and sweet is always the best. One of the things that we see a lot is students, they want to do this big project, and it might be an amazing project, but is the question you have to ask yourself is it doable? Is it doable? Can you do it maybe within a semester, school year? Do you have the resources to do it? Do you have the skills to do it? What resources do you have to do those research projects? And also, ideally, a lot of these students, if they, again, want to go to graduate school, can one project lead to another project, whether it's for your project, your own personal research, or maybe the student's project if they go on to grad school, their thesis, for example. Time is very valuable to us. So if you do this elaborate project where you have to recruit maybe 200 people out in the community, do you have the time? You know, we teach 12 credits. Some of us teach 15 credits. It's make sure that it's something that's very doable, not only for the student, but also for yourself.
Yeah. And you want to focus on long-term goals with your students. Do they want to be able to present their research findings at a conference? Do they want to work on writing a manuscript to get, a publication? What are they hoping to get from it as well? Because sometimes students just have this really cool idea and they want to do it, but then you have to, like you said, just kind of peel back and say, well, what do we need to get done? And taking it step by step within, especially if you make them commit for 2 semesters, right? Well, why don't this semester we focus on this? Right. And then long term, we want to reach this point, but let's, break it down into what can we accomplish within this one semester and then the next semester. And you can kind of maybe take on a project that has more to it as long as you look at that long term piece, but breaking it down into, semester by semester or something like that. And kind of having in mind whether the students want to participate in conferences, participate in writing papers. That also helps know how much effort they want to put in, because if a student is just kind of doing it because they feel like they should, someone told them, oh, you should do research, right? Then maybe they're not going to put in the effort because they don't have a drive to get to a conference to write a paper. But if it's a really motivated student that wants to go to graduate school, that knows that having presentations and papers on their CV before they get there is going to be a big deal, they're going to be really driven too. So you might be more willing to let them take on a larger project or a more complicated project, knowing how much effort they're kind of going to put through,
Exactly. You want to start with baby steps. A lot of students, they want to learn how to run before they know how to walk research wise. And that's how they fall down a lot of times. And Britta mentioned this already, she touched upon this, is focus on what the students will learn. It's also a great way to recruit students, is making sure you're selling, hey, if you work with me, this is what you're going to learn. You're going to get a letter of recommendation. You're going to add this to your CV, to your resume. So what will the students learn? Skills. I think that's very important, where we have to make sure that the students are learning important skills that they can not only apply maybe in graduate school, but outside of the classroom in their day-to-day life. Communication, time management, problem solving. All of these are very important skills that are very applicable in almost anything, right? How to present in conferences. They can also, I always tell my students when they're giving presentations, you're going to have an interview. Use these presentations as a way to prep on how you're going to talk to an audience, because you're going to have interviews when you're, applying for jobs. If you're focusing on a little bit more on graduate school or career, it's definitely one of those things, not only to help build the CV, but so again, some students really don't know what they like. So this is a great opportunity to really kind of pinpoint what is your main research interest, which is very important in graduate school, because in graduate school, they're going to have to do a research project, and they're going to really marry that research project for the next 2, 3, maybe 6 years.
And like you mentioned too, you get that opportunity to know a student on a different level than just, oh, they were a good student in my class. Having a letter of recommendation from someone who has worked, one-on-one with them, has seen their soft skills, has seen their skills for whatever lab work, field work, and so forth that they're doing. That's beneficial for literally anything you're applying, whether it's a job, whether it's grad school, whether it's any any field they want to go to, having a strong letter of recommendation or a reference is always something that you want to have, because everyone wants to know a little bit more about the student on a personal level, not just, yep, they were really good, they aced my class, they showed up on time, those kinds of things. And to your point about soft skills, my department head, it was a couple of years ago, but there was a stat that most of the people that lose their jobs within the first year, it's because of a lack of soft skills. Communication issues, problem solving, conflict resolution, all those kinds of things. So, even if your student doesn't think that research is for them, even if they're not sure that they really enjoy it, or if they want to go to grad school, again, you can emphasize, well, you're going to learn so much more than just lab work, just this field work. You are going to develop some of these other skills that, as you mentioned, are going to serve you no matter what you want to do, and are actually really, really crucial, and are what most employers are very, very strongly looking for, because that's generally the issues that come up with people, with new employees.
So what does UNG offer? Well, just to pitch it out there, I know I'm being very repetitive here. We have a research pitch. The deadline has actually been moved to October 21st. These are events that you want to encourage your students to engage in, that we offer here at University of North Georgia. The research pitch is just a 3-minute presentation. They have one slide. I had a McNair student participate in it. And it was a great opportunity to, again, learn skills, not only present, but they have to be very concise. They have to change or turn this research project into a small 3-minute presentation. A lot of students think, oh, 3 minutes, that's a lot. No, it goes by really, really quickly. So that's an event that's held every single year. This year, it's going to be here in the Gainesville campus at UNG. And we also have the annual research conference that's in the spring semester. In both of these events, the research projects don't have to be completed. This is a great opportunity also for students that maybe they have their intro and their methodology all set and they're collecting data, to present a poster where they're, it's actually a proposal poster than an actual research poster. They can do an oral presentation also at the UNG annual research conference. Again, these are things that the students can add to their resume, to their curriculum vitae. And it's all offered here within the university. So great opportunity also to network with other faculty members or other students, where that maybe that faculty members can collaborate with students, and also other students can collaborate with other students in research projects. Faculty student collaboration. Oh, Brina, do you have anything else to add there at the UNG events? So faculty student collaborations. What else does UNG offer? Money. Even though, yes, there's a budget cut, there's still opportunities to apply and get money to do research with students. For example, there's the Student Faculty Collaborative Mini Grant. You can get up to $1,000 to do a research project with a student throughout the academic year. If you have more time to do research during the summertime, you can apply for FUSE. There, the faculty member gets $4,000 to actually do research with 1 or 2 students, depending on how many students you hire. They do a complete summer project. There's opportunities for these students to engage and participate in workshops to also help them, professionally develop. And also you get up to $500 worth of material that you can use for your research project as well. And then we have good old McNair Scholars Program, and we actually got funded again as an institution for an additional 5 years for the McNair Scholars Program. I've actually had the opportunity to mentor to McNair Scholars Program. It's a 2-year program where it feels like you're actually working with a graduate student, because you're prepping these underrepresented students to go to graduate school. And finally, we have honors thesis, either serving as a chair or just serving as a committee member. All of these are great opportunities that you can actually add to your annual, eval, and you can apply for promotion or tenure.
Yeah. And I think, don't we normally do something at the end of the summer, beginning of the semester for the FUSE students so that they can present their research?
And they're now, from my understanding, they're trying to incorporate McNair students in the future. So when they do their research, they also present their projects with a few students. So again, another opportunity to present research for these students. So UNG does have a lot of tools. It's just a matter of using these tools to not only your benefit, but the students' benefit as well.
All right, so one of the things to be aware of, or considerations, is you will probably make mistakes, but some of the ones that we are going to urge you to be on the lookout for are knowing how many projects you can focus on at one time. You don't want to ever take on too many research students at once, because again, especially if they're in their first semester of research, you have to give them just the general research skills. You have to kind of get them acclimated to what's going on, and then the project itself. So there's a lot more, I don't want to call it micromanagement, but there's just a lot more overseeing of that process, right? So if you take on 5 new students all in one semester, you're going to be overwhelmed. They're probably going to feel overwhelmed because they probably won't have as much one-on-one time with you as they would like. And so it's just going to feel like too much. I typically only have maybe 3 research students working with me at any given time, just because all of us are busy, right? And it's just hard to manage too many projects. So you want to make sure they're quality projects that you can pour your energy into, those students, those research projects, not just, oh, I'm going to have 10 research students with 10 posters, but it's all kind of, not up to the level that you would generally want for a project. And you also, and I know we talked about this before, but you really want to make sure the student's committed to taking time outside of class to work on the project, because, like in chemistry, you can take research as a credit hour, and they are, by taking that credit hour, saying, I'll pour at least 3 hours a week into this, or 4 hours a week into research. But oftentimes it requires more than that. So it's good to let your students know up front kind of what you expect from them, your expectations of time, and how much, they should be prepared to put into it, and make sure that they recognize that, yes, you are going to have to carve time out of studying and taking classes and all the things you do for this, for this research project. And so if you have a syllabus, I know chemistry does, I'm sure other departments do too. If you have some kind of research syllabus that clearly outlines expectations of time put in, whether or not you have to present or should be working towards a presentation, whether it's through, CURCA or some outside presentation, but just making sure your students and you are all on the same page, because if you get them in and they start doing research, but they didn't realize kind of your expectations, and you'll be frustrated. They will probably be frustrated. And again, if you've taken a lot of time to train them, but they're frustrated because they didn't know what they were signing up for, then they're not going to stick with it. And then you're kind of back to square one. So it's just that open communication between you and the student, so that everyone kind of knows how the project should proceed, will kind of smooth things out in terms of turnover of students or having those frustrations.